Sometimes in life and in sales, it's all about knowing exactly what to say. Well, in today's episode, we're going to hear from the author of the international best-selling book titled Exactly What to Say. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children 18 plus, you are tuned in to the Loan Officer Podcast with me, Dustin Owen, and an amazingly special guest. Originally from London, England, he today hails from New York, New York. He is in Las Vegas, Nevada with me at Mastermind Summit. He is a Hall of Fame inductee into the National Public Speakers Hall of Fame. He is a 5 times business owner, and he is the author of the international best-selling book, Exactly What to Say. He is my new friend, Phil M. Jones. Phil, welcome to TLOP.
Hey, thank you so much for having me on the show.
Yeah, no, thank you. And I love the fact you're probably, we're 400 plus episodes into this. You're the first guest we've had on that speaks the King's English.
Oh, very good.
Yeah, isn't it weird we said the King's English? Our whole lives we said the Queen's English.
I know, right?
But now it's the King's English.
Apparently so. I'm not sure how I feel about it either.
No, it's surreal.
Yeah.
But I'm stoked to have you on because I am a wannabe, amateur, novice wordsmith.
Okay.
I love playing with words. I sometimes will use the terminology, that's word porn. Like,
Good.
How can we rephrase this to elicit the response that we want?
Right.
And I have found throughout my life and in my career, if I just reframed or rephrased something,
That's right.
I may be willing to get the response that is going to benefit me or benefit the outcome that I'm looking for.
100%.
And then recently, I was introduced to your book. And then I realized I'm way late to the party and that this book's been out for like years and it's sold millions of copies. It's in its 3rd iteration, which makes me that much more excited to introduce you to our audience. And then for our audience who already knows you, we're giving them a special treat because now they get to actually hear an interview with the man, the myth, the legend. So I don't know where you want to take this. I know where I want to take this. Like, I want to sit here and pepper you with questions about how the book became the book.
Okay.
What was the motivation behind the book? And then obviously for those people who haven't read the book yet, let's tease them a little bit with your backstory.
Sure.
So if it's okay with you, let's start with the backstory.
How far back do you want to go?
Well, let's go back to when you're 14, 15 years old and you basically tell your teachers, hey, you know what? This coming to school thing isn't really for me because I'm crushing it with my own car washing business. Can you offer a little bit of color behind that story?
Absolutely. I mean, at 14 years of age, I had a car washing business. I was knocking on the doors of my neighbors asking if they wanted their cars washed. There's nothing new about that story. The difference is by the age of 15, I had the kids in the year below that were doing the bulk of the car washing, and I was running a little empire, and the net result was that I was busy, which meant school was optional. And what I managed to do was to keep building businesses and then running my studies part-time around my businesses as opposed to the other way around.
So if the car washing business was the first business, how long did you have that business before you finally either shut it down or you just sold it to one of the younger classmen that was doing the bulk of the work?
I think the challenge I had when I was back at that age, and particularly UK culture versus US culture, and we're talking a little journey back to where we are now, is I didn't have a thought around selling businesses. I had a thought about making money.
Okay.
So what you do is you do a thing where you give an act of service and you get rewarded for it, and you keep doing that as much as you can. But I just naturally let that fizzle out and trade down to something else because you get excited.
You were 16 years old probably, right?
Yeah, get excited about something new and
Yes.
something new and something new. So I've been naturally entrepreneurial forever. And I think it's because I'm naturally curious.
Yeah.
I have a simple belief system that if somebody else can do something, can somebody else be me? And instead of seeing people that are doing things that have you in awe, and I'm like crushed by that, by alternative, I'm never like, wow, look what Dustin's doing, that's amazing. I'm like, how is Dustin doing what is amazing? Yeah. And I've learned that by asking the question how, you keep opening new doors. You keep opening new doors. You keep opening new doors. And the second you can decide that every race you're on is a never-ending race, you keep making new decisions because nothing's ever done.
That was a pivotal moment in my life, and it took me all of 4 decades to learn, is that there is no finish line.
That's right.
Like, because I would go chase the trophy, I'd go chase the accomplishment, chase the goal,
Yes, sir.
and then get there and be like, well, that's pretty unfulfilling.
Correct.
So you realize that as well, and I'm sure you coach that, you teach that,
Yeah.
This race doesn't have a finish line.
Right.
And your success early on came from you just being naturally curious.
And then on the relentless quest for better. So whatever it is you're doing is like, how do you find refinement on that? Whatever it is you're doing, how do you find refinement on that? Whatever it is you're doing, how do you find refinement on that? And that's where I started to think about words differently. You can talk about word porn, which I love. You can also think about story math. So do the words add up? I believe that everything that comes out of your mouth is helping or hurting. Everything that comes out of your keypad is helping or hurting. Nothing is neutral. And if it is neutral, it was a waste.
Okay.
So I started to think about engineering conversations. I started to think about how do you take something that is so beautifully artistic, but make it add up, subtract, divide, or multiply. And this has been an obsession of mine now for probably around 25 years.
I was going to say, because you are a serial entrepreneur and a master salesman.
Thank you.
And you thank me for saying that, but I was like, thank you for accomplishing what you accomplished. And now you come to conferences like this and you write books like Exactly What to Say, where you share your experiences. And what I love about it is you didn't do it from the academic standpoint.
No.
You did it because you're like, nope, I did this business, then I let it fizzle, right? Then, and I'm going to give a little bit of the book away, but not the juicy parts, just the backstory parts. Yeah. Then you went and you ran department stores.
Yeah.
Then when you got bored with that, you started selling for MLS, or not MLS. It was, we call it MLS soccer in the US.
Yeah.
Premier League.
That's right.
Right. Did Premier League. And then eventually Premier League led you to doing some real estate development, but more like real estate development sales.
That's right.
And then eventually you launched a speaking coaching business where you traveled the country or traveled the world,
right,
teaching other businesses how to take your successes and apply them to their industry.
That's right.
Yeah. So then one day you decided to write a book. Okay. How did that come about? Like, how did the book aspect come about? And we are going to kind of jump into the book, and I may ask you to maybe tease the audience with certain things that they'll learn or why it's so important they should pick it up. By the way, I'm going to tell you, you should pick it up, because it is so easy to read. It is literally, you could do a chapter a day and it would take you less than 5 minutes. It would take you 15 minutes if you applied it the way you should, because this is almost like a workbook in my opinion. So let's go back to, at what point did you have the notion, the encouragement, the vision to say, you know what, I need to take what I'm doing and put it on paper?
A great question. And I've written 11 books.
11.
And my first book was a book called Toolbox that I wrote in maybe 2009. And that was what a lot of people do with a book. I had a speaking, training, coaching, consulting business. And to help you win more work in that space, in your bio, you might want the words published author to exist. So what I did is I did what many people would do, is I took all the things that I knew about sales and marketing, crammed them into a book idea and brought that book to market, and it was pretty darn useful for people. In that book, I littered it full of sequences of magic words, just as pop-ups and call-outs
and magic words that you found to be magical in your sales success.
And that showed up in training sessions, etc. And I'm a trainer and speaker that writes. I'm not a writer that trains. So what then happened was people would remember that more than anything else. What then happened was I found myself at a mastermind group with other speaker, trainer, coaches that were talking about how hard it was to publish a book. I'm like, it's not that hard. You could probably turn a book around in a month if you really put your mind to it.
Self-published?
Sure.
Yeah.
And they were like, well, put your money where your mouth is then, Jones. And I said, okay, I'll do it. And what I did is I took a 2-page PDF that I'd used at a training for a group of customer service reps in a telecommunication company just a few days prior. I took that 2-page PDF and I blew it up, stretched it about as far as you could stretch like somebody does sourdough for their bread. And I published a book in like 10 days. And that book was called Magic Words.
Okay.
This is, say, 2010-ish. And this was when self-publishing was becoming more well-known. And it was also when Amazon were launching KDP Select. Now, KDP Select is Amazon's self-publishing platform, but also they were giving all these tools towards entrepreneurs about how you could self-market your book. One was to run a giveaway promotion on Kindle. Well, that sounds cool. Let's enroll it into this program, put it on giveaway. I mean, it was only for a bet anyway.
Yeah.
Run it into KDP Select, gave it away free for a week. Now, the little Amazon algorithm picked this up and ran with it. I looked back at the dashboard a week after me giving it away. We had 120,000 downloads.
No way.
It's a big number.
Yeah, makes you a bestseller.
Oh, without question.
Yeah.
But without it being like a real book, it was more like a pamphlet.
Yes.
We had some 5-star reviews and some 1-star reviews.
Oh.
Well, I tell you what, the machine likes that.
Yeah. Oh, no way.
Right, because we got volume and we got contrast in opinion.
I'm thinking your machine likes that. Like, oh, you're going to call me out? You're going to, you're going to make me now actually think and work? But
Well,
the
that
algorithm
too.
at Amazon.
Yes.
Okay.
People like things that people like or dislike. Like if everybody's neutral about something,
Yeah.
There's no reputation, there's no story in that. But it's like, is it a 1-star or a 5-star? Hang on. Let's start looking into this. What else it does is then people look at it and go, well, I'll make my own mind up. If 7 out of 10 people say this was really helpful and 3 out of 10 say this is a complete waste of time, you want to go, which side of that line do I live on?
Yeah.
So the little book did pretty well. Now, it never made any money, but it then became a lead capture on my website, then became a giveaway at events. I'd customize it for different organizations. I'd flip out the brand colors when working in corporations. And I became known as the guy that would help you with magic words. Fast forward to, say, 2017, and I'm going through my geographic move from the UK to the United States.
What, out of curiosity, what was the catalyst behind moving across the pond?
I think there are 2 reasons. One is commercial reasons. Is in the personal professional development space. North America is the biggest market in the world. And if you want to make it in your profession, you want to play on the toughest field of play.
Yeah.
But the real reason is I met a woman that I fell in love with that was an American.
Fell in love with a Yank.
That's right.
All right.
So yeah, that's what kept me here. I think I came for the work, I stayed for a woman.
Yeah. Very good. And then when did you actually get around to publishing Exactly What to Say?
Well, what I decided is I wanted to grow from having a global speaking business to having a local speaking business. I wanted to build my business here in North America. So I figured I'd best write a new book. That'll put me on the radar. It'll create a catalyst and a talking point to win more speaking and consulting work. And then I thought, you idiot, why on earth would you write a new book? You've got this lazy EP that you turned out that has been a big part of your work, that the marketplace has said, we love you for that.
Yeah.
Do more of it. So I went back to Magic Words, I rewrote it and put it into the book form of Exactly What to Say. Now, it was actually going to be called Magic Words till about 6 weeks before pub date. And I did a little search, like many of us do when we come up with a great name for something, pumped it into Google, pumped it into Amazon, and what pops up is a new book that's just been published called Magic Words at the time by a guy called Tim David, who happens to be a real magician. I'm like, for
fuck's sake, right?
Right?
Yeah.
What do I do?
Yeah.
And then I thought, well, I need to just retitle the book. And you look back into your archives knowing that success leaves clues. I'd run a number of edutainment training events for the multi-level marketing industry. I'd run a number of education events that were in theaters for small independent business owners. When I ran those events, I called it Exactly What to Say. I'd released a 3-disc CD program for the direct sales industry. I called it Exactly What to Say.
There you go.
I'm like, well, hang on. The past can help inform the future. Why don't I just pick that title and run with it? And I think one of the big reasons the book has done so well since launching in 2017 is the title. I think the title change is a gift because there's a curiosity gap in the title alone. I mean, this is a tiny book you can read cover to cover in 72 minutes. That can't tell me exactly what to say. I need to know exactly what to say. I'd like to know exactly what to say. That book definitely cannot tell me exactly what to say. It's going to fail on its mission. How do I find out whether it can fail on its mission? I should buy the book. I should read the book. Dang, it tells me exactly what to say. You with me? So like it takes you on a little emotional roller coaster just by the title alone, and it becomes a product of its product is that it's a very well talked about book. And I've learned that the only thing that sells books is somebody saying, I've read this book and you should read it too.
I agree with that. That's how I get all my books.
Right.
Like all of my books, I'm not.
You're not walking into a bookstore looking for a cover to jump off a shelf.
No, I don't go to an app. I don't Google search. I literally either I'm gifted books.
That's right.
Or I attend conferences and someone says, hey, you should read this book.
Yep, exactly.
That's how I got your book.
Right.
Someone said you should read this book. I'm like, oh, well, if that person says I should read it, I should definitely read it.
Well, and right now, right, people at home are going to be listening or watching to this podcast and they're going to be like, oh, that was the author and the book that was on it, and you said that you should buy the book, so someone's going to act on that.
Well, 100%. And look, if you're a mortgage loan originator and you are joining our coaching program or you're already part of our coaching program, I'm going to promise you this. I'm going to swipe and adapt from this book, and I'm going to teach it to you every other week when we get together for one of my coaching calls.
Okay.
I coach twice a month. My faculty coaches 5 times a month. And when I coach, normally it's things like scripting. It's exactly what to say. And I'm going to give Phil all the credit in the world. So you should buy the book so that you can better follow along, because your book isn't a book the way that I just finished reading this phenomenal book about endurance racing.
Okay.
In terms of like marathons, ultra marathons. And that book is a way different book than your book. That book was entertaining. That book was a story. That book, a little bit of education.
Yep.
Right. But like your book is like, no. This is a workbook. This is
a tool.
It's a tool. Yes. Yep. This should be sitting on your desk. And before you make that call or before you reply to that email, you should thumb through the chapters and be like, oh, what would Phil, kind of like WWJD, what would Jesus do? What would WWF, what would Phil do?
Right.
And then use the book.
Well, and that's why it's in this format. It's a paperback and not a hardcover from a launching. Like, this is a product. This is form following function. It should be dog-eared. You should be able to carry it around. You should be able to refer back to it.
Reader's Digest.
This is the most listened to nonfiction audiobook.
Did you voice it?
I sure did.
You did?
I sure did. But I think it's because of repetition. I wrote this short so you could read it more than once.
Mm-hmm.
I think the trouble sometimes with a big book is that you skim through it to find the good stuff.
Yeah.
With a book like this, as you get through it too quickly, you're looking for the and what else.
Yeah.
And then you find the and what else through application. And I position this book as 23 sequences of magic words. It's not. It's 23 principles around influence and persuasion disguised as magic words.
Yes.
What I've learned is if you teach people principles, they struggle to find examples. If you teach people examples, they trip over principles. And you need them to understand the principles. Principles are what allow us to be able to have more confidence in conversation. Principles are what allow us to be able to show up and steer situations. Scripts are a challenge because it doesn't matter how much you teach people a script. In the real world, the other person never knows their lines. You find yourself tripping up on the script because it doesn't go the way it was intended to go. Whereas when you can teach people principles, then what they can do is they can find confidence in conversation. And actually, confidence is the missing ingredient when people show up to difficult conversations because they're all up in their head. Mm-hmm. They're all in their heart, and they're not in the moment. By alternative is if you can understand the principles of persuasion and influence, you can step into some of the most complex environments with a level of confidence because you've already given consideration to all the different ways that this can go and know that you're fully prepared.
Yeah, I when I was reading the book, two things stood out. One, we said this, but I want to almost double down on it.
Yeah.
This is a book that when you read it, you then want to go practice it. And you, in your latest edition, you tell the audience, go practice this on your friends.
Yes.
Practice this on your family. Practice this on coworkers because you have to put it into practice.
That's right.
And then the other thing that stood out, and I haven't shared this with you yet, and normally I'll have a conversation offline and I'll share some personal notes, but what made my heart smile and made me feel validated, so thank you, you didn't know you did this and you didn't do it for me, but there was at least 5 of the chapters. I'm like, damn, I do that.
Yeah.
I'm like, I do that, not recognizing that I probably did that out of necessity. I did that out of fight or flight. I was trying to figure out how to win a sale or win someone over. And then when it worked, I was like, well, damn, that worked. Let me keep doing it.
Right.
So I appreciated reading something and be like, hey, this dude, Phil knows what he's talking about. And it also happens to be something that I already put into play. But then there's another 17 things that I was like, oh my God, that's genius. Why didn't I think of it?
Right.
So you should call it fun with words.
Yes.
Like exactly what to say. So how to have fun with words and then have those words elicit a response that you want.
Well, elicit a response that is helpful. And one of the big driving forces behind this entire body of work in exactly what to say is to reframe what people think about influence and persuasion. See, there's a fine line between influence and manipulation. Manipulation is something you do to somebody.
And that's dirty.
Yeah, whereas influence is something you do for somebody. So these are actually tools for leadership. And one of the biggest reasons that things don't happen the way that people would like them to happen in life is because you couldn't have a meaningful conversation about that thing to create a win-win solution. In the world of sales, we've grown up around, I won the deal, I won the sale, I won the listing. Now, if you're the winner, the other person has to be, by default...
Ooh, do I have to say it? A loser.
Right. And we shouldn't be in the business of trying to create losers. What we should be in the business of trying to do is to create situations where both parties win more as a result of the collaboration. We should be looking at 2 + 2 = 5. And this is why sometimes I get frustrated at the poster children that are paraded as sales gurus, etc. You take movies like The Wolf of Wall Street, for example. If that happened in 2024, 25, chances are that dude wouldn't be anywhere near as successful. No. Why? Because of visibility, transparency, reviews, and the success that was created was at the cost and expense of somebody else. Like it was winning while somebody else is getting hurt pretty darn bad. We
Correct.
shouldn't be celebrating that. And I know there's a lot of loan originators on the listening in right now, and what winning looks like for your customers is actually long past the finish line of the closing tape. And in an industry that loses retention worse than almost any other industry, is because you put the finish line of the relationship
At the closing.
at the closing table.
Yeah.
What we should be doing is saying that the finish line is way out there into the future. And by way out there into the future is you'll keep a client as long as you care about the things that they care about. So you have to understand about what they're looking to care about next. And I would argue that most loan originators have no idea what the clients that they've worked with in the past are working on next.
I would agree with that. I mean, I would agree with that because I coach loan officers. I manage loan officers. I was once, that was my full-time gig, was being a loan officer. Right. And I too fell in that trap. I fell in the trap of, okay, yeah, I did a loan for you. Great. Call me if you need me again. You know, that was it. Call me if you need me. Mm-hmm. And I've learned, well, there's more behind that, right? There's a relationship behind that. I should have been their advisor. And as an advisor, advisors check in. Advisors care. And advisors let people know that I'm still here for you. But more importantly, I'm going to reach out to you consistently with something of value.
There's a chapter in the book that we call Simple Swaps, which is this thought around the words that you repeatedly use that could be swapped for something else that is more helpful than hurtful. And I think the advisor community think that being helpful is checking in, touching their bases, showing up, and that isn't that helpful. And I'll explain why. Is if you've ever been in a situation where you're going through a grieving period because you've lost somebody you care about or something bad's happened, have you ever had somebody say words to you like, if there's anything I can do to help, please don't hesitate to ask?
Oh, all the time.
It's less than helpful.
Yes.
If you're going through a difficult time, the offer of help is not actually helpful. Help is helpful. The offer of help is sabotaging. Because what you're now doing is you're now asking the other person to solve the problem that you are trying to solve yourself at this period of time, and to allow them to be a hero in a story that you're currently struggling to write yourself.
Yeah, because if I walk through this, I just said to you, hey man, if there's anything I can do, now I'm forcing you now to think.
That's right.
Versus how would I reframe that?
Well, you got two options. If it's a grieving situation, then you either just have to offer compassion, and that's it. Or if you know the person well enough to know what help looks like, just freaking help. So if you know that they are rushed off their feet with kiddos and that they're struggling to be able to find time to make sure that there's a decent meal on the table, and working through this period is like late night pizza delivery and not healthy food and not taking care of them to the standards that would normally sit in the that family value, is say, look, I know it's a tough time that you're going through. Really sorry for your loss. What I've done for you is I've just taken care of getting a meal delivery service that's going to show up, be at your doorstep 7 p.m. every night. It's just deliver the help. Or just go take care of something in their world so that they know it doesn't need to be taken care of.
Versus the other way, which is 100% dismissive. Right? I mean, that's the way and it's interesting because I've how many times have I said that in my life?
That's right.
Let me know if there's anything I can do to help.
And this is what loan originators are doing. Hey, just checking in, seeing what's up. If there's anything I can do to help, then let me know, reach out. I'm here for you. Well, that's not here for you.
This might not be for you, but here's how I'm helping others.
Sure.
Do X, Y, and Z.
Well, like even take where we're at right now. We're recording this. It's the summer of 2024, and there's a lot of talk in the news right now about interest rates and changes in commissions and the future of the real estate industry. There's a lot of confusion. Mm-hmm. So if you're looking to be helpful, it's using the fact that you've probably been seeing in the news that there's a lot of chaos and confusion around what's happening in the real estate world right now.
I can see where you're going with this because we're going to state a fact.
That's right.
That is mutually agreeable.
That's correct.
Like neither one of us could disagree with it's a fact before you go in.
And you're possibly wondering how this affects you.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, yeah, I am possibly wondering how that would affect me. So the reason that
does the word possibly give you the out?
Yeah.
It kind of protects you against being wrong?
Because curiosity is the fuel to great conversation. If you don't put certainty into the conversation, there's a gray space that's a play space that's a safe space for both parties to be able to operate in. So what now can happen is they're like, that's helpful. Thank you for showing up. You don't say, I'm just checking in. They say, thank you for checking in. It's different. And then what you do is you earn the equity to stay in that relationship for a long time. What most LOs are doing is saying, hey, it's me again. Hey, it's me again. Hey, it's me again. Just checking in, just touching base. If you ever need me, I'm still here. But they run out of reasons to call, so they stop calling. So they have to be more helpful, and they have to use the truth. And then you might find yourself in a conversation that's like, well, what are some of your plans that you're thinking of for the potential future.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, we don't know. We kind of like where we're living right now, we think, but my youngest is going to be through middle school, and then that might free up some options, and my eldest is possibly going to go on to college, and that might mean that we either look to get a place out there as well, because they're thinking of going to the West Coast, so we might look to get a vacation home out there, we might downsize here. We're still a little confused about what our plans are coming up. You're like, oh, cool. So next time we speak, would it make sense that we continue that conversation so you feel well informed about what your options might be, so you understand your equity position, you understand what loan products could be beneficial to help you navigate that decision-making process? And they're like, yeah, that would be helpful. And you say, well, would it be okay if we reconnect end of the summer, find out where your head's at? And they're like, yeah, that would be helpful. And now what do? We show up to the conversation in September and we say, hey, last time we spoke, you said blank. And they're like, I did. You said, well, where's your head at now? What's changed? Bring us up to speed.
You make that sound so effortless. I mean, there's people tuning in right now that are probably going to rewind. They're hitting that, I think it's back 15 seconds. You can go forward 30, I think only back 15.
Yeah.
Back 15, back 15, back
That's
15.
right.
They're getting back there.
Mm-hmm.
To hear you re-script that. I'm assuming all of that's in the book, but you have practiced it. You've put it into play.
That's right.
Stumbled, fumbled a little bit here and there.
Yep.
Skinned your knees, picked yourself up, kept getting at it until you found exactly what to say in your particular vernacular.
That's correct.
Yes, I love it. One of my favorite parts of the book, and I think you tell the story, it was more of you learned this from a telecommunications billionaire.
That's right.
Where someone was asking him about his crazy new technology and how does it work, and he failed and he failed and he failed trying to actually explain how it worked.
Yeah.
Then he just stopped and he said, it works good.
Right.
That is genius.
Correct.
That is one of my biggest pet peeves with industry folks is they sell to other industry folks and they don't sell to their audience. Mm-hmm. They use words that are way too big or vernacular that is a jargon that only works in the industry and not something that a fourth grader would understand.
Yeah.
But something that I've yet to use that I'm 100% now going to use is when someone asks me oh, well, how are your rates? They're good.
Yeah.
My rates are good. That's it.
That's a complete answer.
Yeah, walk me through your process. Oh, you'll love it. And just stop. It doesn't always work, right? You write about that in the book, but that's so genius. It's so simple. It's like being in 6th grade English class and you learned how to write a paper, the 5-paragraph paper, and your teacher, if she was any good or he was any good, said, keep it simple, stupid.
Right.
Right? And this book is very much keep it simple, stupid.
Well, it's like a distillation, right, of a great spirit. And then what you can do is when you distill something down to something so potent, you can then pour lots back into it and create a million different creations. That was my intention with the book, is to leave out any of the fluff so you could put all of your fluff into it.
Yeah.
Depending upon your unique context and your unique scenarios. And the point you were making about the simple swap of when you're trying to sometimes explain something that is challenging and somebody's asking how it's work and Roger just saying it works great, it's about giving people enough information to make a decision. One thing that's not in the book, and something we work on when we expand the work in our certification programs, etc., is we teach people about decision making and how decisions are really made. And when it comes to making a decision, a human being wants to feel only 3 things. To make a decision with confidence, you want to feel smart, you want to feel capable, and you want to feel good.
Smart, capable, good.
That's it. Let's look at those things one at a time. Smart means I've got enough information to make a decision. I'm well informed. But let's focus on what I'm saying. There are enough information to make a decision. Too much information does not make you feel smart. Too much information makes you feel confused. Too much information can be overwhelming. Too much information can create shutdown. Enough information.
That's where that whole paralysis by analysis comes into play, because there's too much. It's
Correct.
overload.
Correct.
Okay.
And we live in an industry now where people are like, I provided so much value, I don't know why they didn't get it. Well, value isn't something you give. Value is something somebody gets. So you can't give value. People can receive value. You can give information that is received as valuable, but it is not valuable unless the other person both appreciates it and it is appreciating once it gets there.
And is value subjective?
Of course it is.
Yeah. So then I'm competing with someone that I really don't know the rules that they play by.
Correct. So take the simple example of if you were on a boat in a lake and the boat found itself with problems and the boat started to sink and you were too far from shore, and not everybody is a triathlete and can swim like you can. So you're in that situation. I mean, how much would you pay for a rubber dinghy at that point in time?
Oh, yeah, everything I have and everything I can steal.
Right. And how much do you care about what color it is and
Not one
how
bit.
many outlets it has and
None.
what warranties that come
Does
with
it float?
Right.
That's it.
Correct. And you give everything you've got. But if you change that context to another scenario, and what you're looking to be able to do is to go on a whitewater rafting trip in 9 months' time with a group of friends, you've got a different level of information as to how you're going to judge value.
Yes.
Because the circumstances have changed. This is why I love this as a human industry. You have to be able to have the ability to learn the other person's context before you insert your content. So smart is subjective. It's about delivering what's valuable to them, where that value is received as valuable and is both appreciated and appreciating.
Do you teach a way to find out what is valuable to them?
Yeah.
In your workshops, I'm assuming that's something that you teach?
We teach people a structured series of questions to allow them to be able to collect the evidence of truly understanding the other person's point of view. Because if you can show somebody you understand their problem, they'll trust you with the solution.
Yeah.
You try to sell somebody on your solution, they'll say that's not the problem. And that's friction that we create. After smart is capable. What does capable mean? Capable means it's within their means. It means that they've got the power to be able to do things. And take, for example, the rate situation that's holding back a lot of LOs at this point in time. Is 6%, 7% a lot of money?
No. I mean, what am I comparing it to? Am I comparing it to 1982, 1984, 2002?
Sure.
Yeah, I guess it's what am I comparing it
Or
to?
are you comparing it to that individual's capabilities of being able to pay it? And I think that's a mistake that many people make, is they try and compare it to a point in time that was different. If you compare a rate to a point in time that was different, then the natural human reaction is, well, I'm going to wait for a time that is better. If I compare it to your capability of being able to pay that higher rate, well, I can feel empowered and capable today. Like, good news is you can afford a 7% rate. Good news is you've done the hard work to put yourself into a high income salary.
I love this.
Good news is that you did the work to be able to save a 25% down payment so you can access some very appropriate rates. Good news is that you're safe in your job for the next 20 years, so if and when better rates become available, you're going to hold the power to be able to refinance at any point in time that you're going to need to whatever the best rate is available at any given time. That's capable. I remember living out a dream in my life where I purchased my dream car. And I purchased a Bentley Continental GT in the UK. I loved it. It was amazing. Paid cash for it. Freaking awesome. And then what happened is I went through my geographic move to the US. And I woke up one morning worried about my car that was parked on a driveway, not in the garage. No, in England.
Oh, in England. Okay,
Well, I'm living
left
in the
it
US.
there.
Yeah, left it there in my house there. And I'm like, why the heck am I worrying about a piece of metal with rubber tires? Like this is not, doesn't feel good to me. So I called the dude that I bought it from and asked him to give me a price for it to be able to take the car back just 12 months after I purchased it. He gave me a price. I sold it for significantly less than I paid for it. And felt great. Felt great.
Because you wanted to get rid of the worry?
Yeah, because it delivered its promise. I wanted the car because I wanted the car from when I was a kid. I wanted to be able to live out the experience of having the car. I wanted to enjoy being able to look at it, caressing it, sit in it, etc. But I did it. And then what was happening is the negative was outweighing the positive. I enjoyed the relief, but I was capable of being able to take that loss.
Yes.
If I bought it on a finance note with no money down and to be able to give the car back, I had to chase it with some cash I didn't have, I wouldn't have been capable to make that decision. But because I was capable of taking the loss, I could make the decision with ease. See what I'm saying here? Smart and capable.
Yep.
If you're capable of holding a 7% interest rate, and you're capable of being able to refinance that rate at some point in time in the future, you can feel very empowered in decision making.
And by the way, I think I remember in the good news is in the book.
That's right.
Like that is one of those exactly what to say.
We're
and
sharing
the good news
dozens
is
of
X.
them without pulling
Yes.
out the fact that we're sharing them.
Yeah.
But then let's look at this third thing, which is good. How many decisions have you made in your life that you've never needed to think about again?
99% of every decision I make every single day is a decision that I don't even remember.
Correct, because
Yes.
it was a good decision.
Yes.
See, the good decisions are the ones that we make and then we never revisit. The great decisions are ones that we try to then embellish to our friends and family and people we bump into. Is like, look how good I was to invest in Bitcoin on that day. That was the greatest decision of my life. Like, we look to try and be able to elaborate on something, and we want to get more appreciation for this excellent decision we made once upon a time. And then the same with bad decisions. We go back and we look at the do-overs and the shoulda, woulda, couldas that come from it. But good decisions, we never revisit again. So the kind of decisions we're looking to help people make are ones that they feel smart enough to have enough information to make a decision, capable as in within their means, and that they're going to feel good about it at the end of it. How many people have signed a 23% interest rate on a car loan and then never thought about it again?
A lot.
Right. Because
lot.
to them it was a good decision, because to get to be able to drive a car with no worries, that gave them the peace of mind that in 4 years' time they could swap it for a new one, that gave them the ability to be able to have the luxury they were looking for, a monthly payment that was affordable towards them at the time, it was a good decision and never revisit it. But if people don't feel smart, capable, and good, they won't make decisions.
I love it. Absolutely love it. Let's do this. I'm going to do a rapid fire with you.
Go.
Do a rapid fire, then we're going to wrap it up.
Sounds good.
Because we have to get inside. We have to go listen to our friend Shayla speak.
You bet.
She was the guest on a previous episode.
She's the best.
She's amazing. Like,
If people missed that episode, like I'm telling you right now, go back and check in on Shayla. She's the bomb.
Yeah, she's a badass. She's someone that I've from afar have looked up to and respected, and now I'm fortunate to call her an industry friend.
Yep.
And look forward to getting to know her better. So she and I finished this way with you, and the audience who is not new to us, they're probably accustomed to this, because the goal of the show wasn't necessarily to ever do something specifically for loan officers, although I called it the Loan Officer Podcast, right? It was, yes, I was a loan officer. These are all the life lessons, the business lessons, the sales and marketing lessons that I learned from being a loan officer. Let's talk about it in a very Joe Rogan, Dave Ramsey style, the shit they don't teach us in school. So one of the early questions that I ask guests when we have a guest on is, what is something that you wished was taught to you earlier in life that now you go out of your way to teach the next generation?
What do I wish was taught to me that I wish I learned earlier that I'd love other people to be able to know
whether
about?
it's in school, whether it's at the dinner table at night, like it wasn't discussed, it wasn't talked about, but now here you are, into your adult life, you're successful in the business sense. Like what's something that you wish was taught to you?
I wish there were more conversations around money, and in particular that money is a tool. It's like water, it has to flow. You don't have money. You have the ability to be able to use money, and you have the ability to be able to work with money, etc. So I think, I really wish that some of those conversations came earlier, and that would then create the ability for people to start to reframe their thinking about money and wealth creation, etc., and think in terms of cash flow as opposed to savings, and think in terms of how they would charge for things, etc., and how that they could then think about their own self-worth. And you get paid a fraction of the problem that you solve. So sometimes people ask me, like, how much should I charge for this? And I'm like, about a tenth of the difference you would make. And that's how I teach people to price for things. And particularly in the coaching, training, speaking space, is like, someone's like, how much should I charge for this? I'm like, about a tenth of the difference you make. If you're going to make somebody 10 grand, you can charge up to $1,000 for that. If you're going to make somebody 100 grand, you can charge up to about 10 grand for that to get sustainability.
Out of curiosity, do you push that out a certain multiple, like a 5-year multiple, a 10-year multiple? Because coaching is investing in the human.
Sure.
And it's teaching a skill set that hopefully is transferable regardless of industry.
Sure.
It's a mindset.
Sure.
So if I'm like, well, I'm going to coach you today, and if you follow what I practice, you're going to earn an extra $30,000. Is that $30,000 times 5 years? Times 7 years?
Well, I would say if they can't see clearly that they're going to make at least 10 times back on what they're going to invest, they can't make the decision with confidence. And also, you could end up overexposed in the relationship for the size of the bag you need to carry. In a coaching world, I'd split that out in two parts. Can I get them at least their money back in the period of time that we are working together? Can I get them back to zero? And can I get the 9 times or more for them to appreciate over a period of time?
Love it. Yeah.
And then that way, like, we're good. If I've run 2 races, short term, let's get you the money that you spent on me back in your pocket in the shortest period of time. Long game, let's teach you the skills that are required that are going to appreciate over a period of time, that could get exponential growth, that have compound interest.
Love this.
Then that's the game that we would play.
I love this. All right, last two questions. What's one of your greatest mistakes? Like your favorite mistake? Something that you're like, whew, I paid for that, but I'm so grateful I did. Do you have anything that stands out?
Oh man, so many
See,
massive mistakes.
I love this. As you think about it, I love this because when I get questioned, okay, we all have our varying levels of success. So you have a level of success that maybe someone like me is trying to achieve, and I have a level of success that others are trying to achieve. And people ask, well, like what did you do? I said, you know what I did? I went out and made more mistakes faster than my peers. That's what I did. I made more mistakes, harder, faster, obviously learned from them.
Yeah.
So is there one mistake that you look back, or just one of your favorite ones? You may have many, and you're like, you know what? Here's something that I tried that didn't go well, but I wouldn't trade it for anything because I learned something, or it made me better, or I grew from it.
I think it's one I continue to keep making. It's undercharging and over-delivering. And I got countless examples of like, dang, I should have charged more money for that, and I didn't need to do as much as I did. And I've learned that sometimes a mistake that you make on repeat is just a habit or a value that you hold, and then you're going to wrestle with it. So I think many mistakes on undercharging have hit me hard that there are times where I want to look for a do-over on it. The other mistake that I'm pondering on sharing is the creation of limiting beliefs. That as much as I train myself and other people to play through them, is I've seen myself repeatedly falling foul of what's possible, and then having to actively coach myself out of then finding a new ceiling.
Isn't it so true? I mean, I have days where my team checks in on me. I'm like, look, I need me some me. Like, what do you mean? I go, I need to go coach myself.
Right.
Like, I'm not following what I believe in. I need to go talk to the guy in the mirror. Give me a second. I'll come back.
Right.
I love that you shared that, a little bit of a vulnerability, but it's a human element. So I have a bonus question. I told you 3, it's going to be 4. Just curiosity. Do international best-selling authors who kick ass, do y'all run in the same circle? Like, do you and James Clear from Atomic Habits, and do you and Chris Voss from Never Split the Difference? Do you and Jocko from Extreme Ownership? Like, by the way, like 4 of my now favorite books.
Yeah.
Do y'all like run in the same circle? Do y'all like go hang out together?
Not specifically those names that you've mentioned there,
Okay.
but my circles include the ability to hang out twice a year with authors like Donald Miller and Rory Vaden and Jamie Kern-Lima, who's currently New York Times bestseller with Worthy, and we have a peer mastermind group called Authors for Authors, and we get together once a year, and I'm part of the National Speakers Association Hall of Fame, and we get together, and then there's me, Rory Vaden, and Jay Baer, and David Horsager, that are all dudes that love our wives, love our families, love our kids, run businesses, speak, author, etc. And we have a peer mastermind group that we get together twice a year and have a text thread that we give each other a hard time. And the downside to a business like mine is it's lonely.
Yeah.
And even right here, right now, right? Like, Las Vegas is the worst place in the world to be by yourself when you're trying to work.
I'm laughing because I've been to Vegas a dozen times in my life. And don't get me wrong, like, I'm a degenerate gambler.
Right.
I will partake in libations. I love shows. I love fancy. But when I'm here for work, I haven't had a chance to come here for 3 or 4 days and just do Vegas. Right. And it's a weird conundrum to be here because, yeah, it's Vegas, but now I'm also here working.
Sure.
Yeah.
And then you add in that from my world point of view is I own 2 businesses that primarily have staff and operations back in the UK. So I'm an 8-hour time swing on that. I live on the East Coast. So this is a city that wants to stay up late. And my natural body clock gets up at 6 a.m. Eastern time. So I'm awake at 3 a.m. here.
Yeah, so lots of alone time.
Yeah, lots of alone time.
And I'm assuming you're on the road a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you need people that also around you that get it, right? I love the stage. I love to speak. I love the recognition that comes from it. That's all very joyful. But you also need people around you that when you've been and you've crushed it on stage and you've got 2,000 people that want to speak to you and that you're kind of a big deal, in a micro moment, you then need that when you're at the airport 2 hours later and you're exhausted and then your flight gets delayed and that there's this issue and that challenge and you're sat wondering, like, why am I away? You need people around you that get it. And you need people that you can have luxurious complaints to.
Yeah. Last question. What excites you? When you looking out to the future, what excites you?
What excites me is trying to find the answer to the question of how much is enough. And looking to be able to tap myself out of the world of work before the world of work taps me out of the world of work.
Yeah.
And just playing with that puzzle of saying, how do I live life by design, and how do I keep polishing that design in a way that gets to a place that I feel like whatever my version of I did it.
Yeah, I did it. You left it all on the table,
Yeah.
but you didn't let it overrun your joy and everything else that the adventure of life can bring us.
That's it.
Yeah, no, I love that. Phil, people want to follow you.
Okay.
How, like, let's give us the handles. Let's give us the websites. Like, what's the best way to find Phil M. Jones? I love the M. And I love the M. We joke. I told you this a couple of days ago when we first chatted. I had a flatmate in Northampton, and his name was Phil Jones. By the way, awesome dude. What a character. I wish like Facebook was around because I lost contact with the guy. But I love the fact you put the M in there because like Phil Jones would be like someone saying Mike Smith in the U.S. Like there's 1,700 Mike Smiths just in Orlando, Florida. Yeah. So you're Phil M. Jones. So if someone wants to find Phil M. Jones, how?
I am the most famous Phil M. Jones on the internet. so Google search should be able to get you to most places. But if you want to continue the conversation, which I think is the question you're really asking, is come to Instagram. That's the platform I'm the most active.
Okay.
At Phil M. Jones UK is where you'll find me on Insta. And if you're just looking for more resources, we have a giant website with articles on exactlywhattosay.com. There's lots more about the body of work that I provide on philmjones.com. And we're really keen to help people make more of their conversations count.
I love it. Phil, thank you so much for your time. He's Phil M. Jones. I'm Dustin Owen, a.k.a. D.O. Make sure you go to our YouTube channel. It's TLOP. Make sure you subscribe. Tune into what we're doing. If you like what we're doing, sharing is caring. Share us with others so that we can continue to impact the future generations. Find me on LinkedIn, first name Dustin, last name Owen. That is all the time we have for you today, but we do look forward to catching you on the next episode. Peace.